So, Springtrap. We all like him, right? He's one of the most iconic designs in the entire FNAF franchise, and you can't take that away from him. Okay, he has a very good design. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. Springtrap has a really good design. He looks good from all angles. He has a lot of detail, he has a lot of detail, but he manages to have a lot of detail without looking confusing. He has, the organs are done really well, and he's overall just a very good slasher type creepy design. So, Springtrap, we all like him. But, there's one glaring issue, and it's not even the poor guy's fault. Every iteration of Springtrap is radically different from his original model. So, basically in this video, I'm going to be going over all of the issues with how Springtrap is portrayed. So, let's start by talking about how Springtrap looks now. So, his original model made by Scott. It has detail everywhere. All of the holes are well rounded out and just modeled very well. Scott did a great job on this model. All of the flesh and stuff looks great. Scott managed to make such a gruesome idea look so appealing, and that's, I'm pretty sure, why Springtrap is he's so captivating. You just like him. So everybody likes Springtrap. He's got a good design. He's got a lot of detail, and I think he's really good. And I'm pretty sure most FNAF fans would agree with that. So, he's got that big giant grin, which is a staple of his design. He couldn't go without it. He always has that menacing grin on his face. It sure would be a shame if they took that away from him. This will be brought up later. But, yeah. And then he also has a fully modeled corpse inside of him. And William Afton's corpse is I think it's modeled really well on Springtrap, and I love how his suit is modeled around it to hide it so well, but you can still notice it if you really look for it. So that's one of my favorite parts about Springtrap design, how it has two layers and they both clash with each other so well. So yeah. And also, he just looks great in, like, cinematics. Like, this render of him from Illumix is a really good example of this. He's a very good character for, like, cinematic designs and stuff. I can't wait to see Springtrap if they make a third FNAF movie. He's gonna look so cool. But, done talking about Springtrap. Now let's talk about his models. So, let's start off with the least offensive Springtrap model, in my opinion. Illumix's Springtrap model. I actually really like this model. I do think the textures are a little too reflective, but that's just the thing of the game's engine. If you actually look at the model by itself, it looks really good. And this model was actually used in that cinematic render, so yeah. His mouth in this model actually moves with his jaw, which is inconsistent with the original design, but I think it kind of works in his favor. He's a lot more realistic than the original model, but overall, very solid model. Great attempt by Illumix. They captured this character so well. And my only real issue with this design is how he looks in this one render for his plush suit. I really don't think that render looks very good. I think they definitely could have made a better render. But let's look at his design by Steelwool. What happened? No, seriously, what happened? Let's look at the original model. Now let's look at what happened. Alright, let me tell you what happened. Steelwool butchered him. Most of his detail is gone. Here's a comparison with the original model. As you can see, there is a lot missing, and just a lot that has just been done wrong. So, if we look at this quite flattering render of the model, let's point out some of the key problems with it. you can see in between his torso, there's nothing there. It's just a rod holding him up. Like, there's nothing there. The original model had like a bunch of flesh in between there, and you could actually see how he's structured. But how does this guy hold himself up? Like, that does not make sense. So that's my main issue. That's one of the biggest issues I think with this model. Just how empty he is, especially in the torso. If we look at his arms and legs, all of the flesh has been removed besides a little bit on his feet. So that is very disappointing. There's like no wires or anything on him either. If we look inside of his mouth, you can see that his teeth are pure white, which doesn't make sense since he's like a rotting, decaying suit. And then Purple Guy's mouth, Purple Guy is literally purple, which is strange. The wires in Purple Guy's mouth are pure white, which doesn't make sense. And you can see the eyes on this model. I just don't like them very much. He has very strange looking eyes. He almost looks like, I don't know, I feel like the eye texture, they're too green. Like, they gave him these weird neon, like, not even neon green, like this yellowish green glow on his eyes. And they're fully white. And Springtrap's eyes are supposed to be like black with like a little bit of white around them. And then his like scary pupils that make him look very menacing. So I don't know what happened with this model, but this model is definitely the worst model in Help Wanted whatsoever. This model is trash, but it gets worse. People misinterpret Springtrap even more. Let's take the Twisted Ones novel, the Twisted Ones graphic novel, as an example. What happened? Like, seriously, look at this frame. It is... What's up with his face? Okay, so they went for a much more gory approach for Springtrap, which I think is the complete wrong way to do it. I don't think FNAF should be gory, like, at all. It's just not on brand. Like, Springtrap was about, like, the limit that the series should have. This is overboard. And his eyes are just disgusting. He's missing an eyelid, which I guess is fine. But you can see his head was traced from that. His head was traced from that one render of him that I showed earlier. His head has been traced. So that's lazy. And like, just there's so much wrong about this model. He's like this bright yellow, even though he's supposed to be like rotting. Like, what's up with the yellow? And like, it just doesn't look very natural at all. And I don't like this design whatsoever. I think it's very poorly done. He looks very messy in certain frames too. In like certain frames he has like, alright, let's look at this frame. You can see he has less teeth than before. His withering is different. Like, I get it's hard to draw him consistently, but like, this just doesn't look that good. Like, and like the colors are still wrong. He's still got like a lot of blood on him. I don't even know what's going on inside his mouth. Like, just a very confusing design. And then if we look at this frame, we can see they, at the top of it, they reused that same drawing from earlier with the tracing. And then in the middle, we got this that's horrendous. That's horrific. Like, it doesn't fit Springtrap as a character, and like, it's way too gruesome. Like, and he also has like, he had buck teeth in the one frame, he had no upper teeth in the one frame, and now he has 4 teeth on top. Like, make up your mind. Like, this design is so inconsistent, and everybody praises it, and I'm like, this doesn't look like Springtrap. This looks like, this just isn't that good. I don't like this design at all, really. And then in the bottom frame, you can see that his cheeks are way bigger than before. Like, how did that happen? How do you, like, make up your mind with his head shape? And like this frame, he has these bunny chompers, and then his mouth is, then he has like no withering on his torso. And like, what's going on? like, and he also has 2 silver eyelids. Like, it feels like different artists drew all these pictures, but it's by the same person. So, like, just very inconsistent. I don't like it very much. If you could look at the 4th frame in this page, that it just speaks for itself. Look at his eyes. Like, what's going on with his arms too? Like, I don't even know what's going on with his arms in this frame. Like, I just don't really like this that much. This design is not good. This is definitely the worst Springtrap design, in my opinion. Well, actually, no. Scraptrap is worse, but we'll get to him later. But the Twisted Ones graphic novel definitely has a very poorly executed Springtrap design, in my opinion. So, now, let's move on to the most offensive misuse of Springtrap's design, which is surprising because this one was actually done by Springtrap's original creator, Scott. So, you all know it's Scraptrap. It obviously is Scraptrap. Oh, and just for the record, I am going to be leaving out Into the Pit Spring Bonnie and pretty much any form of Spring Bonnie, because I feel like those are just kind of in their own league. If you want to hear my opinions, we don't know what Scott's design looks like. Him and the silver eyes looks pretty good. Into the Pit Spring Bonnie is just kind of in his own league. That's about it. Alright, so now let's talk about the infamous Scraptrap. Everybody either thinks this design is okay, or they hate it. I'm honestly somewhere in between. Like, I think it has good qualities, but they were just executed so poorly that the model just doesn't look good. So, I could point out the obvious things, you know, his peanut-looking head with the big forehead. He's got his weird eyelids. He's got his weird metallic eyes. He's got his strange, untextured spike on one of his arms. He's got more flesh than the original Springtrap. He has an ear. He's just got a very strange design. His ears are really small. His suit ears, not his human flesh ears that are on the sides of his head. Just a very strange and huge downgrade from the original Springtrap in so many ways. So, as you can see, I don't like Scraptrap that much. A lot of other people don't like him that much. I just don't think his design is very good at all. But he gets really bad when you look under his mask. Oh dear. So, yeah, the Ooftroop made a video on this, linked in the description, maybe, if I remember. I'd recommend going watching it. It's called A Deep Dive into Scraptrap's Design. It talks about this way better than I ever could, but, yeah. Basically, what I have to say about this, he has lips on he grew his skin back somehow, which I don't understand. He has lips now. His nose is a different shape. His head is a different shape. He has these weird metallic balls for eyes, which doesn't look good, like, whatsoever. I feel like it'd look better if he just straight up didn't have eyes. He's got these weird ears that look very they don't fit in. Like, he didn't have ears before, why does he have them now? He's got these weird patches that are, like, clipping through his head really awkwardly. He's got all these strange wires just flung around his head randomly. He's just very strange looking. And if we look at his body, this is just an estimation, like, this isn't an official render. This is just from what people have put together. And, geez. So this is one alleyway render where if you brighten it up and look inside his torso, you can see, like, these little, pieces of bone. I really hope they're not bone lungs. I just think maybe Scott put them there for something. I don't know what they're supposed to be. They could be lungs. They could not be lungs. We have no idea. They just don't make sense whatsoever. His entire body is completely made out of flesh and bone, which makes absolutely no sense because Springtrap didn't have any bones, and this is way more flesh than Springtrap ever had. And he's just got wires everywhere, which I guess he could have found in like the trash, but like bones? Excuse me? And like there's no bone structure in his torso area. It's just kind of flesh. So like what? And why are the bones in exclusively his legs white and the rest of it is tan? Like, it just doesn't make sense whatsoever, and it looks really bad in my opinion. So, yeah, Scraptrap is not a good design. I've basically said everything everybody else has already said about him. Not much really to comment on. He's just a significant downgrade from the original design, which was so perfectly done, well executed. We go from that to that, so Scott, maybe don't fix what isn't perfect, or just don't try to... He tried to change the design too radically, I think. Like, I feel like he definitely should have gone for a little more of a light redesign, which is what I've done. So, I've made a redesign for Scraptrap. Here it is. I'm really proud of this, so let's talk about it. So, with my Scraptrap design, I went for a more Springtrap-y approach. So, I mixed together into the Spring Bonnie from the novels with Scraptrap's qualities and Springtrap from FNAF 3. So, the things I kept from Scraptrap, I kept his long arms, I kept his torso shape, I kept his sharp teeth, I kept his buck teeth, I kept his short ears, but I just kind of improved upon it, at least I think. So, as you can see here, he's got a flesh like holding together his legs as if like they're about to fall apart, and he had to like tie himself back together. I don't know, I just thought it looked cool. Both of his legs are done differently. He's got just one little piece of fabric on one of his legs. His arm is practically, I don't know, it's basically like Scraptrap's arm, but with endo instead of bone. Then he just has normal claws instead of bone fingers. He has a wire coming out of his finger that should be missing from the original Springtrap design. Then his arm, where it would be the bone sticking out, I replaced that with a blade. So, I put blood on it, make it more intimidating, but I replaced it with a blade specifically because he doesn't have bone, he doesn't have bones, which I'm trying to focus on with this design. He didn't have bones originally, so I don't want to give him them. So, I chose a blade because he's a serial killer. Knives, serial killers, just make sense. So, I replaced it with a blade on his arm, and I think a blade is a lot more intimidating than this little flimsy little bone spike that looks like you could just snap it off. So yeah. Then with his head, I changed the flesh color back to the original flesh color. I gave him one piercing white eye to match with Dark Springtrap, or at least Funko's interpretation of Dark Springtrap. And then I made his other eye, I just put some wires in there, made it empty. I added one of the little rods, I added the little rods sticking out. One of them is sticking out through his suit on his empty eye. I made his ears shorter. Well, I made his ears bigger than the original Scraptrap, and then I cut them up differently. I made his ear that was broken in FNAF 3 even more broken. Then I made his other ear a little more fixed, but still broken. So, yeah. Really happy with how this guy turned out, and I hope you guys like my redesign too. He has a lot of qualities from Dark Springtrap, So basically what I have, Dark Springtrap, a lot of people don't seem to notice, but if you look at his mouth, he actually has buck teeth. Dark Springtrap has buck teeth and he's missing his pelvis. So I added that design to him. So yeah. This is my Scraptrap design. I'm really happy with how this drawing turned out. Like, really happy with it. I think it looks great. Please tell me your opinion in the comments on my Scraptrap design. But yeah. This basically wraps it up. I just wanted to get this video out there because I made the Scraptrap design because of ooftroop. He gave me that kind of encouragement to do that, and I decided I would throw in all of my other thoughts on Springtrap's design. Is just very inconsistent throughout the series, especially in Help Wanted and the Twisted Ones novel. He just doesn't look good in those, at least to me. So yeah. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video.